Women don't suddenly change after 35. The cost of restraint finally becomes visible. And that's what most men misunderstand. This has nothing to do with hormones, nothing to do with desperation, and nothing to do with some overnight personality shift. It's about delayed permission colliding with time. For years, suppression worked because time felt infinite. Desire could be postponed. Curiosity could be managed. Hunger could be labeled immature and pushed into the background with the promise of later. Later was the safety net. Later was the illusion. But after 35, later starts to feel like a gamble. The clock doesn't scream. It doesn't threaten. It simply removes patience from the equation. What once felt responsible now feels risky. What once felt controlled now feels incomplete. Age becomes a psychological deadline. Not because something is ending, but because something was never lived. The mind begins to review what was denied, not with nostalgia, but with urgency. Suppression stops feeling virtuous and starts feeling expensive. Every year of restraint quietly asks the same question: how much longer can I afford to wait? And that question changes everything. This is where men get confused, because from the outside it looks like desire appearing out of nowhere. It isn't appearing, it's resurfacing, compounded, pressurized, sharpened by time. Because desire doesn't weaken when it's ignored. It stores energy. And when the illusion of unlimited time collapses, restraint loses its authority. That's the threat no one talks about. What's denied long enough doesn't disappear. It comes back, demanding, shut. The foundation for everything that comes later is built early, long before the clock becomes loud. From a young age, she's trained to edit herself, be respectable, be chosen, be controlled. Desire is not framed as something to explore, but something to manage, something that must be filtered through acceptability before it's allowed to exist. She learns quickly that approval comes from restraint, not expression, that being wanted requires being measured. So she adapts. She doesn't fight desire, she reorganizes it. Fantasy doesn't disappear. It gets buried. Impulses don't vanish. They get postponed. Hunger doesn't get named honestly. It gets reframed as immaturity, something she'll outgrow once she becomes the version of herself that's taken seriously. This is how self-censorship works. Not through force, but through reward. Every time she chooses control over curiosity, she's praised. Every time she delays herself, she's validated. And slowly, suppression starts to feel like growth. The illusion holding it all together is simple and dangerous. I'll live fully later. Later becomes the container for everything that doesn't fit right now. Later is where intensity goes. Later is where risk is allowed. Later is where desire waits quietly, accumulating. She tells herself she's being responsible, strategic, mature, and in a sense, she is. But responsibility without expression has a cost that isn't charged immediately. It compounds. This is why nothing feels wrong for a long time. Life moves forward. Boxes get checked. Stability builds. And desire stays patient because it believes the promise too. That its turn will come. That this delay is temporary. But time has a way of changing the terms without warning. When later starts shrinking, everything postponed begins knocking at once. This is the part people miss. She didn't reject her desire. She delayed it. And delay is not the same as denial. It's debt. One that collects interest quietly, year after year, until the bill finally comes due. By the midpoint, the structure is there. Career has shape. Family, if she chose it, has form. Reputation exists. From the outside, her life finally looks like the version she was working toward all along. Stability has been achieved. The chaos of earlier years has been traded for predictability. The risk has been minimized. The image is coherent. And yet, something never arrives. Not aliveness, not intensity, not the sense of expansion she assumed would naturally follow once everything was in place. Instead of feeling complete, she feels contained. This is where the realization creeps in quietly, usually in moments with no drama attached. Late at night, during routine mornings, in pauses where nothing is wrong, but nothing is vivid either. She starts asking questions she never had time to ask before. Why does this feel narrower than I expected? Why do my days feel managed instead of lived? Why does everything work, but nothing moves me? There's no crisis yet. Just a subtle discomfort that can't be explained away by gratitude or logic. The fracture happens when she finally admits the thought she's been suppressing. I did everything right, so why do I feel unfinished? That question doesn't attack her achievements. It undermines their promise. Because she didn't sacrifice desire to end up numb. She delayed herself believing fulfillment would feel expansive. Instead, it feels compressed, controlled, safe, and over time, starts to feel like a ceiling. This is the dangerous moment, because nothing external is wrong enough to justify the feeling. So she turns inward, and what she finds there isn't failure, it's absence. The absence of intensity, of movement, of feeling stretched beyond function. She realizes that structure alone doesn't generate aliveness. That stability without expression slowly turns into stagnation. This is the line most people never say out loud, but it defines everything that follows. Fulfillment without aliveness feels like slow suffocation, not dramatic, not explosive, just a quiet tightening around the self, and once that sensation is recognized, it can't be unseen. The desire she postponed all those years doesn't feel immature anymore, it feels necessary. Time doesn't attack desire directly, it compresses it. Patience collapses first. When the future felt wide, waiting felt responsible. There was room to postpone, room to negotiate with yourself. But once tomorrows feel fewer, tolerance for repression evaporates. Urgency replaces discipline. What once felt like maturity now feels like avoidance. The mind stops asking if and starts asking when. And that shift alone changes the entire emotional landscape. Under compression, desire mutates. What was once patient becomes urgent, not because it grew stronger, but because the margin for delay disappeared. What was once selective becomes intense, because there's no longer time to test everything slowly. What was once filtered through morality gets rerouted through emotion, because emotion feels honest when time feels short. Desire stops caring about how things should look and starts caring about how they feel now. This isn't recklessness, it's adaptation. That's when the forbidden gains power, not because it's wrong, but because it's charged. Risk carries sensation. Chaos carries movement. Emotional intensity cuts through the flatness that stability created. The forbidden promises something structure couldn't deliver aliveness. It doesn't feel dangerous in the way people assume. It feels efficient, direct, like reclaiming oxygen after holding your breath for too long. And the longer the breath was held, the sharper the inhale. From the outside, this looks sudden, erratic, out of character. But nothing here is spontaneous. It's delayed momentum finally released under pressure. Desire that was postponed politely now returns without patience. It doesn't ask for permission anymore, because permission has already been delayed long enough. Time stripped it of restraint. This is the dark truth that explains the shift most people refuse to name. What she postponed for decades now demands expression, not gently, not gradually, but with the force of something that waited while the clock kept moving. Time didn't create new desire. It removed the space to keep ignoring the old one. When desire is suppressed long enough, it doesn't weaken. It stores energy. This is the part people romanticize or ignore. But repression always creates backlash. What isn't expressed doesn't dissolve. It compresses. And when release finally happens late in life, it is rarely gentle. It doesn't arrive politely asking for space. It arrives with force, urgency, and little patience for negotiation. That's why the forbidden suddenly feels magnetic. Not because it's wrong, but because it's concentrated. It carries the weight of everything that was postponed. This is where people mislabel what's happening as rebellion. They assume she's acting out, rejecting her past, or trying to shock the world. That's lazy thinking. What's happening isn't defiance, it's reclamation. She isn't trying to destroy who she was. She's trying to recover what she never allowed herself to access. The forbidden represents parts of her that were kept behind glass for years. Curiosity she silenced. Hunger she minimized. Sides of herself that were always there, just never authorized. This creates a collision between two selves. The woman she was supposed to be, the composed one, the controlled one. The version rewarded by society meets the woman she never allowed herself to become. The one who feels freely, chooses instinctively, moves without constantly checking how it looks. That collision produces intensity because both identities are real. One was lived, the other was deferred. And now they're occupying the same space, competing for control. The forbidden feels powerful because it offers access, not to chaos, but to authenticity. It bypasses years of self-editing and goes straight to sensation. It feels honest because it isn't filtered. And honesty, after decades of restraint, feels intoxicating. This isn't about sin or transgression. Those are moral labels imposed from the outside, and yet it feels like reunion. That's the line that cuts through all the noise and judgment. She doesn't crave sin. She craves access to herself, access to the parts she kept locked away in the name of timing, responsibility, and respectability. And once that door opens, it's not novelty she's chasing, it's wholeness. After 30, the split becomes impossible to ignore. Two selves begin operating inside the same body. The respectable woman, the one who built the life, upheld the image, followed the script, still exists. She values control. She values consistency. She knows how to behave in ways that earn approval and minimize risk. But alongside her, another self grows louder. the hungry woman, the one driven by sensation rather than permission, the one who doesn't want to manage desire anymore, but experience it fully. These two selves don't alternate. They coexist. And that coexistence creates tension. That tension shows up as contradiction. High standards sit next to risky impulses. Dignity lives side by side with secret cravings. From the outside, it looks incoherent. From the inside, it feels inevitable. The respectable self doesn't disappear just because desire resurfaces. It resists. It argues. It tries to retain control. Meanwhile, the hungry self isn't interested in debate. She's interested in relief, in expression, in making up for lost time. And when time pressure enters the equation, compromise becomes harder. This is where emotional volatility comes from. Not instability, not confusion, but identity under compression. The psyche is being asked to hold two truths at once. I value control, and I need aliveness. When time felt abundant, that conflict could be postponed. After 30, postponement feels dangerous. Every delay feels like another year stolen from the version of herself that never got to live. So the fracture widens. Mood swings aren't random. They're the byproduct of two identities pulling in opposite directions with increasing urgency. This is why her behavior can feel unpredictable. One moment she's disciplined, measured, and selective. The next, she's impulsive, emotionally open, even reckless. Both states are authentic. Neither is fake. They're competing for dominance under pressure. And pressure doesn't create chaos. It reveals it. Here's the brutal truth that ties it all together. The longer desire is denied, the less control it has. When released, suppression doesn't teach desire how to behave. It teaches it how to explode. And after decades of restraint, the hungry self doesn't want permission anymore. She wants time bad. This is where most men misread the situation and quietly pay for it. They look at her behavior and reach for the easiest labels. She's desperate. She's unstable. She wants chaos. Those interpretations protect the ego because they simplify something uncomfortable. If she's desperate, you don't have to understand her. If she's unstable, you don't have to take her seriously. If she wants chaos, you don't have to look at the deeper pattern. But those labels are lazy, and they blind you to what's actually happening. The reality is far less dramatic and far more precise. She isn't desperate, she's correcting an imbalance that's been building for decades. She isn't unstable, she's operating under time pressure. And pressure changes behavior. She doesn't want chaos, she's testing aliveness. She's checking whether she can still feel intensity, movement, expansion inside a life that became too contained for too long. When desire finally gets oxygen after years of restraint, it doesn't whisper. It demands confirmation. This is where men misunderstand their role completely. You think you're being chosen because of who you are, and partly, you are. But more importantly, you are what you represent. You are a signal, a symbol, proof that a part of her long kept dormant can still come alive. Your attention, your presence, your reaction don't just validate attraction, they validate possibility. That's why the dynamic feels heavier than normal. There are stakes attached that have nothing to do with you personally. This is also why men who escalate too fast or collapse emotionally get discarded just as quickly. Escalation turns her internal urgency into fear. Collapse confirms that the symbol can't hold weight. In both cases, the mirror breaks. Because she isn't looking for chaos, she's looking for reassurance that her hunger isn't a mistake. This is the line that reframes everything and keeps you from becoming collateral damage in her internal correction. You're not the desire. You're the permission slip. Permission for herself, not permission from you. And the moment you understand that, her behavior stops looking erratic and starts looking inevitable. This is where most men either ruin the moment or lose themselves inside it. When desire finally surfaces with urgency, the instinct is to do something, to push, to secure, to escalate. That instinct is wrong. Escalation confirms her fear. Pressure collapses trust. Hunger makes her defensive because it mirrors the very time pressure she's already fighting inside. The moment you rush, you turn curiosity into threat. You don't feel decisive, you feel unsafe. Not because you're aggressive, but because you're reactive. And reactivity tells her nervous system that this space can't hold what's emerging. The opposite mistake is just as fatal: collapse. Over-accommodation. Emotional shrinking disguised as being understanding. You step back too far. You soften your presence. You hand over structure in an attempt to appear safe. But safety without polarity feels empty. Desire loses its shape. What she needed was containment, not disappearance. Collapse turns desire into confusion because there's nothing for it to stabilize against. You didn't calm the moment you dissolved it. The correct positioning lives between those two failures. First, be grounded, not urgent. Let her desire breathe. Urgency reminds her of the clock she's already racing. Grounded presence does the opposite. It tells her that time doesn't have to be solved right now, that nothing needs to be forced. That alone lowers internal pressure. Second, hold frame, not outcome. You don't chase resolution. You don't demand clarity. You don't try to define where this is going. Outcomes trigger identity panic. Frame creates stability. When you hold frame, you give her space to let competing parts of herself settle without collapsing into defense or impulse. Third, mirror. Calm, not hunger. Hunger amplifies chaos. Calm regulates it. A calm presence gives her nervous system safety, and safety is the only condition under which desire can stay present without turning destructive. Calm doesn't mean passive. It means steady, unmoved, self-contained. This is the mental model that changes everything. I'm not here to extract desire. I'm here to be a place where it doesn't panic. That alone separates you from 90% of men. Because most men either chase desire or flee from it. Very few can hold it without trying to own it. Desire delayed is never erased. It doesn't fade. It doesn't soften. It accumulates. Every year, it's postponed. It gains density. Every moment, it's managed instead of lived. It stores charge. Time doesn't weaken desire. It concentrates it. And when release finally becomes unavoidable, it doesn't arrive as a gentle curiosity. It arrives as urgency, as insistence, as something that refuses to be negotiated any longer. This is the illusion most people carry for decades, that postponement equals maturity, and restraint equals resolution. But restraint without expression doesn't resolve desire, it compounds it. Youth can afford delay because time feels endless. There's always tomorrow, always later, always room to wait. That's why suppression works early on. Time cushions the cost, but age removes that cushion. After a certain point, every delay feels permanent. Every hesitation feels like loss. And that's when desire stops cooperating with restraint. This is the final truth that reframes everything you've just heard. Youth suppresses desire with time. Age releases it with urgency, not because desire suddenly appears, but because the illusion of endless delay collapses. What once felt optional now feels essential. What once felt irresponsible now feels necessary. Desire stops asking for approval because it's already waited long enough. That's why this phase confuses so many people. From the outside, it looks like wanting more excitement, more passion, more intensity. But that's not what's happening. She isn't chasing excess. She's correcting absence. She isn't trying to add something new to her life, she's trying to reclaim what was missing from it. This is the haunting close most men never understand until it's already played out. After-third women don't want more, they want what they denied. If you've stayed through this entire breakdown, you're already operating from a different place than most men. Not judgmental, not reactive, regulated. You're not here to moralize what you're seeing or reduce it to shallow labels. You're here to understand it without flinching. And that matters, because unregulated men become collateral damage in moments like this. They take things personally that were never personal. They react to pressure with pressure, or to intensity with collapse. Awareness prevents that. This perspective doesn't turn you cold. It turns you precise. You stop mistaking urgency for invitation. You stop confusing desire with direction. You stop assuming that intensity means permanence. And you stop trying to fix or contain something that was never meant to be fixed by you. Regulation gives you distance, and distance gives you choice. You can engage without being consumed. You can be present without being pulled into someone else's internal reckoning. Being regulated doesn't mean you shut down or withdraw emotionally. It means you don't let someone else's unresolved hunger dictate your behavior. You can appreciate desire without chasing it. You can allow intensity without letting it destabilize your frame. And when something passes through your life driven by urgency rather than clarity, you can let it pass cleanly instead of being dragged with it. That's not indifference. That's strength. This is what separates men who get burned from men who move forward intact. Not manipulation, not control. Awareness. The ability to see what time does to desire, to identity, to behavior, and to not confuse that process with commitment, intention, or destiny. You're not required to judge it. You're not required to rescue it. You're only required to recognize it. Because this was never about exploiting desire. That's a short-sighted game with a long-term cost. This is about not becoming collateral damage when desire finally asks to be felt.